Carlos Alcaraz walked onto the court in Tokyo with a purpose that was visible in every step he took. Just days earlier, the world number one had been fighting doubts about his ankle, questions from fans and journalists about whether he would even continue in the tournament. Yet, against Brandon Nakashima, he didn't just answer those doubts, he erased them completely. What unfolded in that quarterfinal was more than a victory. It was a statement, an unforgettable display of power, precision, and artistry, with one point in particular leaving the tennis world stunned, a point so breathtaking that fans could only describe it as unplayable. From the opening games, Alcaraz unleashed his trademark aggression. His forehand was firing like a cannon, ripping through the court with such intensity that Nakashima often found himself frozen, unable to react quickly enough. By the end of the match, Alcaraz had blasted 25 forehand winners alone, numbers that belong more in a highlight reel than in a real match. But this wasn't just about stats. This was about the electricity in the air, the feeling that something special was unfolding. Nakashima, a talented and dangerous opponent in his own right, simply had no answers. The Japanese crowd, known for their quiet respect, couldn't help but break into gasps and spontaneous applause as Alcaraz produced shot after shot that defied logic. At one point, Nakashima hit what should have been a clean winner down the line, only for Alcaraz to chase it with blinding speed, sliding into position, and whipping a forehand cross-court so sharp it kissed the line. The arena erupted, fans rising to their feet as if they had just witnessed magic. That wasn't even the defining moment, though. That came later, in what is now being called the unplayable point. Late in the second set, with Nakashima desperately trying to stay alive, Alcaraz unleashed a sequence of shots that looked impossible to execute. It began with Nakashima pushing him wide on the backhand side, forcing Alcaraz deep into the corner. Most players would have settled for a defensive lob, just to survive. Not Alcaraz. He sprinted, slid, and flicked a shot back with so much spin that it dragged Nakashima completely out of position. From there, the rally transformed into a showcase of reflexes and creativity. Drop shots answered with dashes to the net, angled volleys countered with lightning-fast passes. And then came the moment. With Nakashima pressing forward, Alcaraz produced a forehand winner so vicious, so precise, that Nakashima didn't even move. The crowd gasped. The commentators lost their words. That single point summed up the night. Untouchable, unanswerable, unplayable. What made it even more dramatic was the context. This wasn't an exhibition match. It wasn't a casual rally. It was the closing stretch of a high-pressure quarterfinal. Alcaraz knew that one slip could give Nakashima the opening he was looking for. Instead, he elevated his game to a level that made even professional tennis players shake their heads in disbelief. And as he strung together 4 consecutive winners to close out the match 6-2, 6-4, the Tokyo crowd rose to salute him, recognizing that they had just witnessed greatness in its purest form. But beyond the highlight reel, beyond the statistics and the spectacular winners, there was an emotional weight to the victory. Only a week earlier, Alcaraz had twisted his ankle in terrifying fashion. For a moment, it looked as though his Tokyo campaign might be over before it began. Fans feared the worst, remembering how injuries had derailed so many careers before. Yet here he was, not just playing, but dominating, showing resilience and determination that set him apart from his peers. That unplayable point wasn't just a display of skill. It was proof of his fighting spirit, proof that even when adversity strikes, Alcaraz can rise above it. Social media exploded after the match. Clips of the rally circulated everywhere, with captions like, "How do you stop this?" And "This is why Alcaraz is number one." Fans debated whether it was the best point of the season, some even calling it one of the best of his career. Former players chimed in too, praising his balance of creativity and power, marveling at the way he seemed to bend the game to his will. For Nakashima, it was a tough loss, but even he admitted afterward that sometimes you face an opponent who simply plays on another level. On that night, in Tokyo, Alcaraz was operating in a league of his own. The beauty of that moment lies in how it transcended the match itself. Tennis is filled with memorable points, incredible winners, and magical rallies. But every once in a while, there's a point that captures the imagination of fans around the world, a point that becomes shorthand for brilliance. The unplayable point against Nakashima is one of those. It was a point that will live in highlight reels, one that young players will study and attempt to imitate, even if they can never quite replicate the blend of instinct, skill, and audacity that Alcaraz displayed. And perhaps that is what makes Alcaraz so special. At just 22 years old, he has already accomplished what many players dream of their entire careers: Grand Slam titles, Masters trophies, and now, unforgettable moments that etch themselves into tennis history. He doesn't just win matches, he creates memories, emotional touchpoints that draw fans closer to the sport. Against Nakashima, the win was important, but the point was legendary. It was tennis distilled into its purest essence: drama, beauty, and brilliance all wrapped into one. As he walked off the court that night, fist raised and smile beaming, there was no doubt left. Carlos Alcaraz is not just the present of tennis. He is its future, its inspiration, and its most electrifying showman. And for those who were lucky enough to witness it live, the memory of that unplayable point will remain etched forever, a reminder of what happens when talent, determination, and artistry collide. The question remains: how do you stop someone who can make the impossible look easy? For Brandon Nakashima, there was no answer. For the rest of the tennis world, the only option may be to sit back, watch, and marvel at the brilliance of Carlos Alcaraz, the young star who continues to redefine the meaning of unplayable. Would you like me to also create a thumbnail prompt for this video that would maximize clicks and match the emotional tone of the script?